Welcome to the Lucas Rockwood Show. I am a yoga teacher and a trainer, a serial entrepreneur, and a health coach. But first and foremost, I'm a student. I love learning. The show is all about me going out into the world and finding experts, authors, PhDs, yoga teachers, movement specialists, people who can hopefully help you live a more inspired, healthy life and bring their best information to the show. On this week's show, we're talking about finding a job that you love. I just got back from a one-week holiday with my family, with my kids, and the first day I got back on a Saturday night, and I actually spent all day Sunday working. I went right back to work on Sunday instead of Monday. I love working. I love working to a degree that is very hard to describe. It lights me up in a way that really nothing else does, except for my kids, really. And I've had this experience now, not my entire career, but probably for the past 4 or 5 years. Just incredible connection, value, challenge. It's such a special thing, and it's such a rare thing. It's been a really rare thing for me. If I look back at my career, a lot of it was frustration, a lot of it was loneliness, a lot of it was confusion. It's just so hard to figure out how to love the thing that you do, the thing that you spend 8 or 10, or in my case, 12 or 14 hours a day doing. How do you love that? I like to think of this term body of work, Looking back now, I got my first job at age 11. I was picking up golf balls at Hazeltine Golf Course in Chanhassen in Minnesota. And every job I've had, I've really learned a lot from. And I've always been happy to go to work, even though I haven't been happy at work. And really just this long process thinking of this body of work from age 11 until now. What have I really done that I'm proud of? And what have I really done that, in my eulogy, I will want to have recited? There's not that many things. And I'm hoping in the second part of my life, I'll really add to that list. I'm fairly certain that I will. But most of the things were really simple, valuable experiences that nobody, myself, nor my kids, nor anyone else, really will take much note of. Pouring beer at a music festival and picking up balls on a golf course and selling things door to door. None of that stuff anybody really cares about, including myself. Valuable experiences that, of course, helped to shape me. But what is my body of work? What is the body of your work? What is that 8, 10, 12 hours a day, that 40, 50, 60 hours a week? What are you doing? And I have no judgment in terms of industry, in terms of profession, whether you're a lawyer or an actuary or a gardener. I find all these things potentially fascinating and potentially frustrating. But I really get stuck on this question a lot. How can we really enjoy and find value and meaning in our day-to-day life, in the mundane, in the complex, in all of it? And I don't have the answer, but I have a lot of questions. Our guest on this week's show has a lot of insight that I think you'll find interesting. We kind of go in a funny direction. He takes me down some rabbit holes, but your questions, comments, and feedback are most welcome. Email me podcast@yogabody.com. I also like voicemail, yogabody.com/asklucas. If you like this show your support by taking a screenshot when you're listening on your phone, post it to Instagram, and tag me @LucasRockwood or @YogaBody, or tag us both. And you can also leave a review on iTunes. It'd be much appreciated. Thanks so much, and enjoy the show. Hello and welcome everyone, Lucas Rockwood here. Today's show is called How to Find Work You Love Doing, and I am joined here with Evan Carmichael. Evan's an entrepreneur, he's an author, a speaker, he's a YouTuber. At age 19, he built and sold a biotech software company. At age 22, he was a venture capitalist helping to raise $500K to $15 million. He now runs the biggest YouTube channel for entrepreneurs. It has nearly 2 million subscribers, 1.9 million, I believe, last time I checked. And he's really committed to creating more entrepreneurs in the world. You can learn more at his website, evancarmichael.com. Evan, welcome to the show.
Appreciate the love, man. Thanks for having me.
How'd you find success at such an early age? At age 19, I didn't even know what the word biotech meant. How did this happen? Are you like a prodigy, or what's the story?
At 19 was the toughest decision of my life, whether I was going to go take my dream job in banking and make 6 figures and travel around the world, or make $300 a month and own 30% of a startup biotech company with 2 people from the university I was at. And it was just regret. I didn't want to regret it. I think we regret the things that we don't do more than the things that we do. And so I just imagined my life at 95 saying, I'm going to regret not taking my shot at this. It's probably not going to work out. Most entrepreneur ventures don't work out, but I needed to know, man. I needed to know. I'm not a genius. I can't code. I don't know anything about science. I am definitely not a prodigy. I just didn't want to live with regret, knowing that I was capable of more and not finding out.
So you're really passionate about entrepreneurship. Your YouTube channel, a lot of your writing, most of your speaking is about this. And I'm an entrepreneur. I've done a bunch of stuff. I'm not really into proselytizing about entrepreneurship because I have days when I really doubt my decision. For me, there is no other decision, but the price of entrepreneurship, at least for me and most of my colleagues, is very high. For me, I don't see any other alternative. There is no other path for me, but I can't recommend it. It's sort of like somebody doing Ironmans or something like that. Their knees are trashed by the time they're 50, and their body's falling apart. And it's like, yeah, they're really glad they did that, but now they need a knee replacement at age 50. I kind of feel like that in terms of the bumps and bruises I've gotten along the way. You have a much more positive outlook on this than me. Talk to me about why you're so passionate about entrepreneurship.
I think everybody should at least try it. It doesn't have to be the thing. I think going into it thinking like an Ironman, thinking that you're going to get bumps and bruises and have to replace your whole body by age 50, I don't think that's the mindset. I think what you should do is encourage somebody to walk around the block, or to run their first totally. Mile.
Start with
right?
5K. Yeah.
Not even. Just start by joining a running group. Yeah, just put your shoes on and run around the block, and put on Lucas's podcast in your ears and go for a run and just see how you'll probably, if you haven't run, you'll probably make it 17 minutes and then want to die because you're not used to running. That's the start. But did you enjoy it? Did the next day you wake up and do you feel better? Do you kind of miss it? Do you want, Lucas in your ear while you're doing your run? That's the starting point. It may ultimately become something that you become the Ironman, and that's a very select few people who start running then become Ironman. But I think the path for success in any field comes with a price. But you're willing to pay the price because it doesn't seem like it's crazy work. Jerry Seinfeld calls it the torture you can endure. So if you were to step into my schedule, it would be torturous. And same thing for me jumping into yours. Things that you find fun and you would do just because you love it, I would look at and say, that's ridiculous. I would never do that. And so that's success in any field, whether it's entrepreneurship or marathon running or music or whatever. The starting point is you need to find the thing that you love doing so much that it doesn't feel like work to you.
So you write books, you're a YouTuber, you're a speaker, so you have a bunch of different revenue streams. How do you define entrepreneurship? This has become a buzzword. I have people applying to work for me and they define themselves as an entrepreneur. They say they studied entrepreneurship in university, and I realize that people are using this in the vernacular in a very different way than the way that I use it. I'm just curious how you define it.
I really don't care, to be honest. I super don't care about labels. If you want to call yourself an entrepreneur, amazing. If you're a VP at some bank and you call yourself an entrepreneur, great. If you're doing your side hustle and so you call yourself, I mean, as long as you're happy, awesome. I don't really get caught up on any of those definitions.
So let's get into this. So right now, you and I don't know each other personally, but from what I've gathered, listening to you speak online and things like this, you seem like a pretty happy, pretty passionate guy in terms of your work life in particular. I have no idea what else is going on in your life, but I'm curious. Most people listening, statistically, probably 80%, dislike their job. And dislike is a general term. A lot of people are just kind of blasé about it, but there's a good significant minority of people who are pretty raging, mad, disappointed with the way things have turned out. And people really struggle to find meaning and purpose. And the fact that you know what you don't like doesn't mean you know what you do like. And so people really get stuck. You seem like somebody who's been driven by passion and excited. And maybe that's just how you're wired. Maybe that's just how I'm wired. I don't know. How do you help people think about this, finding work that they love, finding meaning and purpose in the thing we spend most of our time doing? Yeah,
I think your number is actually low. I would say 95% of America wakes up and drives to a job that they hate. I think that's most people. I think they just settle too early and they don't have clarity. And And so they end up struggling for the rest of their lives. I have a 3-step process called Who, Why, How that I walk people through to figure out
Who, why, how. Yeah.
who I have. So the first is who. So I believe that everybody has a one word, most important core value. So we can workshop this. If you had to pick one core value that meant more to you than the others, what would you pick?
It has to be one word.
Yeah.
Learning.
Learning. Great.
Yeah.
So already you know that if you're around people who don't like learning, you're going to be frustrated.
I'm screwed. Yeah, I'm screwed.
Yeah, you just won't like it,
Yeah.
right? Like you're going to hate it. It's toxic to you, right? And it doesn't mean that learning is better than something else. It's just, that kind of self-awareness is important. So even for the people on your team, if you're hiring a programmer for your website or an engineer for your podcast or whatever, they have to like learning.
This is good. Yeah.
Or you just won't like hanging with them. It just won't work. Even if they have all the skills and talent that you need, if they don't like learning, maybe not as much as you do, but it's just, and so you lead with that. Like, we are a learning organization. And so then you attract the people who love learning as much as you do. Right. And that just makes you happier. Same thing for relationships, right? Like, if you're with somebody who doesn't like learning, that's going to be a problem.
Totally.
It may not be learning the same thing, but just learning. So already that's more self-awareness than most people have in America. So that's a great starting point. Why you hate your job is because it's against your most important core value. You would struggle in a corporation because how much are you actually learning on a day-to-day basis? It would be destructive for you because you're not learning enough.
Yeah,
and so
not fast enough. Yeah.
So that's already. It doesn't mean you have to go be an entrepreneur. It's just you need to put yourself in environments where you are learning a lot.
Constantly,
and so everybody can go through that exercise, right? Figure out what your most important core value is, and then that forces an audit on your life and your career to see where I'm not matching up. And the more unhappy you are in a situation, it's likely because it goes against your core value.
I appreciate that insight, because here's what happens when I talk to people about this. They say, I hate my job, and I go, what would you like to do? And they say, I'd like to own a B&B, or like, I'd like to be a dive instructor. I'm just like, oh, I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. You know what I mean? It's just, I just don't think it's true. And I've seen people kind of early retirement attempt to do these kind of vanity businesses, the pub on the beach, or the Airbnb in south of France or whatever. It totally doesn't work out. It like ruins their life. And so I guess the what. So you have who, why, how. There is no what in there. And the what is the thing that I think people get attached to this label. Like, I want to be a restaurant owner. I'm like, not sure if that's true. And I think what they really want to do is be creative or be involved with food, or I'm not sure. But how do you when people get stuck on these labels, they love snowboarding and they think they want to be a ski instructor or whatever. I have a friend in London who decided he was in investment banking, decided he wanted to be a ski instructor. I was like, this is such a bad idea. Had a season or something and just totally blew up his relationship and his life. And he didn't like being an investment banker, but he really wasn't meant to be a ski instructor. But this is like people's best thinking gets them there when they're trying to fix their broken career. How do you help people just think about, smart guy, how do you help people think about this in a more strategic way?
Well, one, I meet people with compassion where they're at. So even though from an outside looking in that this person is just making the wrong decision, going and telling them that, hey, this is not the right thing for you, is usually not the best path, because they're going to get defensive and say, no, man, Lucas, you don't know what you're talking about, man. I love ski instructing, right? So most people would rather escape a life they don't like than trying to build a new one, and they can't. They default to entertainment over education to make their life better.
Slow down with that. That was good. Say that again. So most people would rather escape their life rather than build one. So they're running away rather than running toward, right?
Yeah, it's why people love entertainment. You would rather entertain yourself and watch Netflix and binge it. And I mean, not you, but most people. And you shut off your world for a while, instead of investing those 5 hours into learning and growing and getting better and educating yourself to create a better life. So understand that's where most people are at. And so how you shift it is to shift their thinking, not by telling them that they're wrong and they're doing the stupid thing. So the who, I, how process works. So who is you figure out what their one word most important core value is. Great. Next, why. So we'll use you, Lucas. This is great. We have a guinea pig here on the road. What's the most painful moment in your life?
My divorce, for sure.
And what did it lead to?
So many things. Good things, bad things, all of the above. But definitely what it led to is a realignment of my core values. It really made me rethink everything. It was kind of like it was just a really harsh slap in the face, and it made me reanalyze everything. Just a really harsh wake-up call.
And so, I mean, I'm divorced too. I know what that's like. It's brutal. Were you healthy and everything before the divorce?
Physically healthy?
Yeah. Physically,
Yes.
mentally, whatever?
No, mentally not healthy at all. Mentally, one of the worst headspaces I've ever been in. Yeah, for sure. One of the worst mental health spaces I've ever been. Physically, doing great. Physically, I was doing great. That part, that's always been my strong part, right? So that's, I always say health, wealth, relationships. If things are off, for me, I can always do health. I can get myself feeling better in a couple of hours, because I have those skills. So that's the thing I always lean on. So when anything goes sideways, I roll up my yoga mat, I go to the gym, I go for a run, I fix it. So that part was sorted, but my mental health was trash for sure.
Your purpose comes from your pain. The thing you should be doing is helping people who are currently going through what you went through.
I don't want to do that at all. That sounds horrible. I really, even this conversation is making me cringe,
No, it's not. It's not. Listen, like, you'll love helping people with their body.
Yeah.
But you'll love even more helping them with their mindset.
Oof, not sure. I mean, I want to be open to this, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. Mental health. Mental health is, if that's the most painful moment in your life, then mental health is what you're
what I have the
you're
most
calling
to share
is.
with. Interesting.
Not just the most to share with, the most fulfilling.
Huh.
The most fulfilling. If you have and not just from divorce, it's not just people who come out of divorce and feel low. It's people in general. Anybody who has a really weak mental state, who you see potential in, and they can get out of it, and you've got the tools to help them, that person, you're going to love. It's just going to fill you up so much to see them start to win and start to change their mindset and improve their mental health through whatever techniques you're teaching, breathing or yoga or whatever. That's going to be the thing that pulls you in much more than here's how you do a bicep curl.
So what's yours?
My one word is believe.
Okay.
Right. I love believing in people.
Yeah.
But I could believe in anybody. Why? Yeah. I could believe in truck drivers. Like, I believe in entrepreneurs because my most painful moment was struggling as an entrepreneur when I was 19, having very little self-worth, self-confidence, being too ashamed to tell people that I was struggling. And I told them and said I was living the entrepreneur life. Meanwhile, $20 for pizza was too much. I isolated myself. I felt worthless as a human. And I want to now, for the past, how many years ago is that? 20 years. I've been dedicating my work to helping entrepreneurs not go through the same struggle that I went through. It's just natural. Like, as you've gone through something, you then want to teach others how they can avoid that same pain.
And how is that struggle about belief instead of abundance or financial freedom or cash? I'm just curious for people who are trying to find their one word, because when you mentioned that story, that's where my mind went to, is more financial freedom, stability, that kind of thing.
So this is a very personal thing, right? When I asked you what your most important word was, you said learning. Your story, you'll see through the lens of learning. I might look at it through, that's a belief story or that's an abundance story. But like, for you, it's learning. So how do you find it? Well, you look at the happiest moments in your life. You look at who your favorite teacher was growing up. You look at what your favorite movies are and books are and hobbies are, and you draw a line of consistency. So all the things that have made you come alive in your past, there's a common thread to them. Your favorite teacher wasn't Mrs. Jones in grade 8 math because she taught you math. It was something else. Like, she really got you to tune into learning for some reason. There's some teachers that just mean something to you. They hooked you on learning more than whatever they were teaching you. And so you go through all the highest highs in your life, and there's a common thread. You figure it out. That's your most important core value.
Here's the strange thing. My core values have definitely shifted over time. In fact, mine was definitely believe. I even have the word tattooed on my arm. When I was 23 years old, I got it tattooed on my arm. And so I'm curious about changing. It's still on my arm. I'm sort of trying to get it removed, but I'm curious.
You're talking to the belief guy, Lucas.
I know. Well, it's interesting. You've taken me a different direction. I really wasn't expecting to go here, but when I got this done, it was really same sort of thing. I just didn't believe in anything. I didn't believe in the church anymore. I didn't believe in school anymore. I just wanted to. I wanted to be able to commit to things. I wanted to be able to participate. I just felt like, I felt like I was an outsider in everything that I was doing. And so I really wanted to find a belief. And it led me down a path which led me to where I am now. But really, it took me a really long time to realize that what I really just want to do is feed my brain. I wake up in the morning and I don't reach for the phone for social media. I just want somebody to teach me something. Every job interview, I'm just like, teach me something. I don't care if you work for me or not, just teach me something. Get on the plane, it's like, somebody feed my brain. And it took me a long time. So in terms of core values, maybe I just misunderstood myself. Maybe my core values didn't change. But I'm curious, it's easy for you and me to say what our core values are. A lot of people just don't know. So how do they get clear on it? Is it that pain moment? Is it that, how do they help to get some clarity?
Okay, so first off, it is being able to see the forest from the trees. So I would tell you that learning was always your thing, but you had this trauma that blinded you, that this one thing became the most important thing, but it wasn't actually your core thing. You should have put learning on your arm. And here's how you tell. Imagine Lucas at 90 years old, he's still learning. Like, are you going to care less about learning when you're 80?
More, definitely
right?
more.
That's how you know that it's right.
Yeah.
Right. That's how that allows you to step up, because we're all going to go. I'm sure if I asked you in the middle of your divorce what your most important core value was, it might be like loyalty or something else, because you're hurting. But it's a piece of you, but it's not the real thing.
Foggy, right? Yeah, everything gets foggy. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's always been learning. It always will be learning, and you have to always be doing something where you are learning or building a learning organization. Like you're a teacher and a trainer for a reason, because you love not just learning, but then being able to give back and help people understand what you've learned. You want to shortcut their path. For people to find it themselves, it's one, doing the exercise that I just talked about, where you look at all the happiest moments in your life, your favorite movie. My favorite movie is Seabiscuit. It's about a horse that's too small and a jockey that's too big and an owner that has no money and a trainer that got fired, and they all find each other. It's a belief.
Yeah.
I've seen it like 30 times. I love that movie. It's a cheesy, not great movie, but I love it. So what's your favorite movie, your favorite song, your favorite singer or actor, what lessons you learned from your parents, who your favorite teacher was, and then write 3 descriptive words for all of them, and then see what words they have in common. And that'll give you a good indication. Some people have an easier time going negative. So who do you hate? Like, who was the worst teacher growing up? Who was the worst classmate or the worst boss or the worst whatever? And then that I call your anti-word. Like, what do they all have in common? Then the opposite. So for you, it might be whatever the opposite of learning is, right? Like
boring. Yeah, exactly.
Boring, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Something like that. Like, oh man, that boss never let me grow. Right? Was always I just had to punch in and punch out, and I hate that guy. Right? For me, it's I call it the little man, but it's people who don't believe in other people, who put people down and say you can never do that. Like, that drives me nuts the most. Right? And then you go the opposite. And then the third kind of refresh on it is to think lifetime. Right? So as you come up with a word, you think about it the next day. It should only feel better. If you're doubting it as days go on, it's not the one. It should feel better and better and better. And imagine yourself at 80 or 90. Do you still care about this thing? If anything, you should only care more about it, because now you're more confident. You've grown and learned so much. You care less about other people's opinions, and you go hardcore on that thing.
So, there's a meme, do what you love. And I think I even say this. The challenge is, like, I've always just been kind of obsessively passionate about different things at different times. As a teenager, I was really into horseback riding, and then I was really into the outdoors, and now I'm really into business, and I'm really into nutrition, and not like a little bit into it, but like manic into it, like can't get enough. But I meet most people are not wired like that, and I feel like I don't know you, but I'm getting that same kind of vibe from you. And I wonder if maybe you and I are just superimposing our wiring on the world. I meet a lot of people who are really, really interested in Netflix, and they don't seem disaffected. They seem okay. I don't know. Sometimes I worry that I'm wanting other people to play my manic game, and maybe they don't want to. Maybe it's not even appropriate. A lot of people I find are pretty passionless and pretty content with their lack of passion in life. And so I guess where I'm going with this is passion and your values. Do they go hand in hand? Is it possible that some people are just simpler and that's a happy place to be?
So there's a couple of things to deconstruct there. You haven't been all over the place. your life. It hasn't been jumping from one thing to the next in a crazy way. It's always been about learning. That's your constant. So you have to, if looking from the outside, it'll look like you're jumping around, but you're not. You're just learning something new. The minute you learn something, you're going to want to learn more, and then you're going to learn new always. Like, that's not going to go away. So it's not going to surprise me if you're doing, yoga and health and breathing and then business, and you're going to get into other stuff, because as soon as you start to tap out the learning, you're going to get bored. So you're going to want to jump to something else. But it does make sense because you figured out who you are at the core. When you're looking at other people, I would strongly disagree with you on that front. I don't think most people are happy. I think most people settle for super mediocre life. I think they'll fake front it. I think they'll tell you they're happy. I think they'll post fake pictures on Instagram showing that they won some contest, but inside I think people feel hollow. I think people have a mission and a purpose. I think most people are just buried under so much crap that they have no idea how to even go about finding it. And I think that's the job of me and you and people who have found their thing, to then spread a light, not to superimpose. Because if you go and say you need to learn, that's definitely your model, and not everybody's going to love that model. It's helping them discover what their model is.
So how does money fit into this? You seem like somebody who's done pretty well financially. When people correlate what they love and what they need to do for work, they often find those, it's usually a false assumption, but they find that there's an opposition there. They can't make money doing what they love. And how do you help people contextualize the importance of money, the abundance of money, how to find money and still do a job that they love and do work that they love?
So I think people growing up don't have a healthy view on money. I think some people are taught that money is everything, and that this person coming into my shop, that's my next suit or that's my next car, and you're just looking at making a sale. And then other people grow up being taught that money is the root of all evil.
Sure.
Right? That it's bad. I mean, like, everybody can complete that sentence because it's been hardwired into us in our training so much. It's neither. Money is a tool, and money is amazing. Everybody needs money. Even if you're a charity, you need money. How I like to think of it is money needs to be in your top 5, especially if you're an entrepreneur. Money needs to be in your top 5. It just can't be number 1. There's got to be something, your mission, your vision, your purpose. There's got to be something ahead of making money, but you better figure out how to make money doing that.
Why can't it be number 1? I mean, it's not number 1 for me, but why can't it be?
Because you'll never be fulfilled, you'll never be happy, and you'll never win. You'll play small for life.
Is that just your values, though? I mean, health, wealth, relationships.
Show me somebody who's won. I mean, I've studied everybody. That's what I do on my channel. Show me somebody who's been number 1 in their industry who say money is my most important. It's number 1. There's nobody.
Are they being honest, though? I mean, haven't some people optimized for that, and maybe in hindsight, it's 2020, and in retrospect, they say, my family was most important, but the reality was they neglected them for the 20 years as they rose to success.
Oh, it's not. I mean, if you're looking at successful people who've accomplished a lot in business, nobody says family is number 1. It's wanting to change the way that something is done. If you're doing something just for the money, you're going to quit because it's going to be too hard. It's going to get hard. Like, if you're running races because you want to win the gold medal, and then that's going to get you're only chasing endorsement deals, you'll never put in the work to actually do the training because it's just too crazy. That's why you have to love the thing that you're doing. You just won't put in the work. For you're doing your yoga and health and wellness. If I went into it as a strategy, right? I'm going to make money. You know how I'm going to do it? Yoga's popping. Wellness is popping. I'm going to do that. This is my strategy for 2019. I'm going to get into yoga. And you're going to destroy me.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's a strategy. And for you, it's what you do.
Yeah.
So that's a problem.
I guess I look at health, wealth, and relationships, right? That's the 3 buckets I always see the world through. And I always say, like, if you can do one of those things well, you can have a pretty interesting life. If you can do 2 well, you just have, like, really exceptional success in life. And if you do all 3 well, you kind of fall into this, like, extremely powerful, extremely influential person. It's just so rare that somebody does health, wealth, and relationships well. And so I'm just always looking at those lenses. The wealth thing doesn't work for me at all. I mean, I'm maxed out in terms of I have no desires. I don't wake up thinking about anything. I don't think about any kind of car or clothes, or I'm totally uninterested. And yet I'm in business. I enjoy making money, but I don't have any material desires. So it's not a good motivator for me. In fact, I wish it was a better motivator. I'd probably make some smarter choices in terms of investing and things like that. But I guess I'm trying not to superimpose because I think it's such a powerful tool, and I'm just worried that I'm projecting my own value set onto the rest of the world when it's clearly such a force for good. And you look at somebody like Bill Gates with his wealth and what he's been able to do, something I'll never be able to do because I was never. I'm not sure. I just worry that perhaps, and so for example, I would put you in the relationships bucket. If I look at your value of believe and what you're optimizing for, it's cultivating, managing, supporting relationships, whether it's personal relationships, friend relationships, business relationships, subscribers to your YouTube channels relationships. That seems to be the bucket where you're really excelling.
Great. I think the key, if you want to help people, is you need to reverse engineer what they want. So, if you're looking at wealth, if you say, hey, I might have a limiting belief around wealth. I'm not growing as big as I can. I don't have any material desires. So how big is your team right now?
34 people.
Great. If you had 100 people, what kind of damage could you do in a positive way, right? Like what kind of impact could you have if you were 3 times as big?
Yeah, it'd be great. It'd be great, for sure.
No, but that's what you need to get obsessed over and feel, right?
Yeah.
Not to like, oh, I really want this Ferrari, or I want to be able to buy a villa in Greece or whatever. That's not the thing that's going to drive you. It's impact. So, but to do that, you can't afford to hire 60 more people right now. You need to boost your business. You need to make more money, and money gives you the tool to then help a lot of people. Listen, I think a lot of people. I've been doing interviews all day, and the rest of my day is all interviews. You're different. I love your style. I love the way you think. I think you could actually make a huge impact on this planet. But before today, I hadn't heard of you, and that's a problem. No, but that's what needs to change, right? And if you had more money and you were having more impact, you'd be able to do that. You'd be able to reach more people with the weird way that you think, because people need that. They need your weirdness.
Evan, I appreciate what you're doing. For people listening who want to pick up your books, probably many of them will want to follow you on YouTube. My 2 questions for you. What's the one big thing you're working on this year, 2019, second half of 2019? And then where can people connect with you online?
So I'm working on my new book. We're launching in January 2020. I'm doing a 90-day tour to kick off 2020. So I'm excited about that. It talks about the Who, Why, How process that we touched on today. And if people want to find me, they want the books, you go to Amazon, easiest spot. Otherwise, put me in Evan Carmichael on whatever social platform. I'm probably there.
Back in 2005 and 2006, I was running and eventually owning a yoga studio, and we had a big problem. We needed to staff up. We needed to hire more teachers, and we just couldn't find qualified applicants. Literally, we would put out a job ad, we'd interview a bunch of people, and most quote-unquote certified teachers just couldn't teach a good class. So we started in-house trainings. In fact, my first 2 courses, there was no paying people at all. We actually sponsored people to take the course, and we hired them, and they became teachers, many of whom are still teachers today, all these years later. And in 2006, we opened up our first course to the public and started training professional teachers, and we used this same approach. The idea was we want people job ready by the end of the course so that we can hire them, or that somebody can hire them. And interestingly enough, this was one of the only courses in the world that was actually training professional teachers. Most yoga courses, you sing some songs, you eat some lentils, and you get a certificate. At our course, you actually learn professional skills, public speaking, applied anatomy, nutrition, physiology, all of the skills that local yoga students are looking for. That's why our graduates are among the highest paid, most employed, most successful teachers in the world. This year we have our 4,000th graduate completing our programs, and it's one of the things that brings me the most joy in all the work that I do. We have a bunch of programs I'd encourage you to check out if you're thinking about becoming a yoga teacher in 2019, and all of them can be found at yogateacherscollege.com, yogateacherscollege.com/calendar to see all of our upcoming events. We have courses as short as 1 week and as long as 6 months, and we even have online training programs for those of you who can't travel to train with us. Hope that's helpful, and I look forward to talking with you more and hopefully training with you sometime in the future here in the upcoming year. This week's nutritional tip comes in response to a listener question. Listener Paul says, Lucas, in Ayurveda, they say ice water is bad for your health, that you shouldn't drink cold beverages. Why is that? Is there any truth to this? So Ayurveda is traditional Indian medicine in the same way that you have traditional Chinese medicine, and it's a very old, interesting, complex, deep system. There's a lot of wacky stuff in Ayurveda in the same way there's lots of wacky stuff in all folk medicine and traditional medicine systems. There's also a lot of genius. The thing about ice water, I don't really know. There's definitely not any science to back that up. But the idea is that this ice water sort of cools your Agni. Your Agni is this idea of internal fire. And you have digestive fire, digestive Agni, and you also just have sort of the fire of practice and things like this. And so the idea is that ice water would impair your digestion. Now, water in general will impair your digestion. If you dilute your stomach acids, it can actually reduce your ability to digest foods, which is why people always suggest you drink moderately with your meals. But in terms of ice water, no ice water, these kinds of small things that people get focused on, they just don't make a big difference. I always think of, when you're looking at your refrigerator in the grocery store and your health choices and your exercise, I always just think, where are the big levers? Where are the 100-foot tall levers that I can pull that are going to make the biggest difference? And drinking lemon juice in the morning, or ice water, no ice water, this kind of crazy stuff, it's not going to make a huge difference. What's going to make a massive difference is like what 80% of your foods are, what it looks like in your refrigerator, what your meal timing is, how much fat and protein and carbs you're eating. And so I wouldn't worry about this. I've never found somebody who is suffering from big health challenges from ice water. I don't think it's something to worry about. I've also never met anyone whose health was revolutionized by lemon water or apple cider vinegar in the morning, despite all the top 10 lists you'll find online about how this changed your life. These little things, I call it top grading. These little things, for most of us, it's not something that we worry about. If you think of like car fanatics, right? Car fanatics get their car detailed and every little grain of dirt and sand is removed from all the upholstery. And for the rest of us, we don't care, right? We just don't care. We want the car to drive. It's very similar with your health. If you are a health fanatic, freak out nerd, I definitely fall into that category at times, then yeah, go for it. Experiment with all these little things, see how you feel. Ice water, no ice water, lemon juice in the morning, all these kinds of things. But for most of us, let's just focus on the big levers. What's really going to make a difference? What's going to make a noticeable, like write downable difference tomorrow? Not going to be the lemon juice in the morning. It's not going to be ice water, no ice water. Ayurveda is really interesting. For those of you listening who'd like to learn more, just be careful if you start to go down that trail a little too deeply. It starts to pigeonhole you into these categories, and you assume because of your dosha, because of your constitution, you can only eat this food and that food. And you always have to put these things in their historical context. And this is a very, very old system, and the foods and nutrition and information that were available back then are not the same as now. There's a lot of genius to Ayurveda, but there's a lot of nonsense as well, and it's very difficult to sift through. Hope that's helpful. We have a listener question this week based on nutrition, and the question says, I've searched a number of different episodes, and you said that it's more important to know the sugar number 45 to 50 minutes after eating rather than 2 hours. And for a healthy person, where should that number be? Second question that's not clear to me is in regards to dietary fat. I've been trying to follow your recommendations for protein and carbs. My ideal weight is 150, so I do 150 grams of carbs, about 60 grams of protein, but then I look at fat and I just don't have any parameter. Okay, a couple of things to think about. So the Yoga Body Diet, which is something that I teach, and it's loosely based on the work of Dr. Mark Hyman and Gary Tubbs, and perhaps Mark Sisson, a little bit thrown in there, and really dozens of other people. None of this research is new. Nothing that I do is groundbreaking. What I do is really just simplify it in a way that's very, very easy to remember. And it's been really, really effective for thousands of listeners. I get feedback on this every single week. So let me break it down for you. This listener, ideal weight is 150 pounds. Here's the math equation. 150 pounds is what you'd like to weigh. Okay, you get 150 grams of carbs per day, ideally spread out throughout the day. Let's say you eat 3 meals per day. That means you get about 50 grams of carbs per day. That's less than you're eating right now, but it's not like deprivation land, so it's pretty manageable. To figure out your protein, you take that 150 and you just cut it in half. So 150 divided by 2 would give you 75 grams of protein. So you said you were eating 60 grams of protein. I'd encourage you to bump that up a little bit. And then the last question is how much fat? And this listener is saying, I'm pretty worried. It seems like you can't just eat fat recklessly. And the answer is you kind of can. If your carbs are throttled, I wouldn't worry about it at all. In fact, most people have more trouble undereating than overeating because fat is so satiating, and it's just not something that people tend to binge out on unless it's paired with sugar. Think ice cream, right? Haagen-Dazs is the big culprit here. So in general, what I think about is making sure that your house is stocked up with clean protein, whatever that means for you, and then nice healthy fats, olive oil and coconut oil and butter and ghee if you eat that stuff, and things like nuts and seeds. Dark cacao is a good choice. And then I wouldn't worry about it too much. Everybody's fat tolerance is a little bit different, and it does take some time to build up to it. You need to change your enzyme balance in your body. You need more lipase. You need more bile. Literally, your gallbladder needs to get a little more efficient to digest all that fat. But eventually, I eat over 100 grams of fat in a day, and I have for, over a decade. Some days I even eat 150 grams or even 200 grams of fat, and I feel really great. But most people, if they did that, literally they'd feel nauseous. So it takes a little bit of practice. But again, Yoga Body diet summary. Take your ideal weight, and that is the number in pounds, and that's the number of grams of carbs you'd like to have. So 150 pounds, 150 grams of carbs per day. That's your max. And then on the minimum, take that number and cut it in half, and that's your minimum grams of protein. Now, more is okay, but less puts you into a place where you might potentially have a little bit of extra hunger. You might not feel satiated, and you might have trouble keeping muscle mass and things like that. And then the rest you just fill in with healthy fats. This sounds really simple, but I promise if you start practicing it, it'll really have a radical effect on your body. Hope that's helpful.
This week's iTunes review is by Emily Butterfly from New Zealand. Emily Butterfly says, I absolutely love the Lucas Rockwood Show. I listen when I'm driving and usually arrive at my destination inspired, informed, provoked, and stimulated. I share his podcast with all my friends and we have great discussions about the topics. I am a yoga teacher as well and find all the podcast speakers very relevant and always interesting. Lucas has a vast knowledge of nutrition, and I love the nutritional tips and all the perspective on food. I've been listening for about 3 years now and keep coming back time and time again. It never gets boring and is always up to date. Thanks so much. Lucas, you are a gem. Thanks for your wonderful contribution and using your talents to reach so many. Namaste. Thanks, Emily Butterfly. You have won the Yoga Trapeze. Email us at podcast@yogabody.com and we'll get that to you.
If you're a regular Yoga Talk Show listener, you'll definitely want to get on my email list. Go to yogabody.com/sign me up. When you enter your email address there, we always have free giveaways every month. Yoga straps, water bottles, discounts in our shop, and all kinds of other things. When you sign up at yogabody.com/sign me up, I'll send you just one email a week with updates about the show, special offers, new courses, and valuable information that I think you'll find useful. So go to yogabody.com/sign me up to claim your free prize now.